5 times.
You're going to wait till voices are off.
Is that in there?
Okay, so today we're nearing the end of our informational text writing. We are slowly almost finished with these. So I'm going to go over today a step that some of you might already be at because you have finished the other parts of the writing process. So today we're going to go over the difference between editing and revising, because sometimes we use those words together and say you need to edit and revise, but we might think that those mean the same thing when they actually mean two different things. So Vanessa, I need you to stop what you're doing. I need eyes up here, because some of you are here, and if you're not here, you're going to end up being here by next week. So you need to know what to do. So, does anybody know what the difference between editing and revising is? Anyone might have an idea what might be different about those two things? Jason, what do you think?
Revising is like when you read it again, and editing is where you change it if something's like doesn't make sense.
Okay, someone else have another guess? Grace?
No. I have a question. Is revising where you read it over and fix things that are wrong?
Okay.
Is that what it is?
Sort of. So they both fix different parts about your writing. One of them is more focused on something more specific than just generally fixing things. Eve, what do you think? Okay, so what do you think editing is?
To kind of change things, or if spelling's wrong, you change spelling. If there's not proper grammar, you change grammar. Just anything related to words mostly.
Exactly. So the big difference, Anna, I need your attention here, please. Need your attention here. This is important for you to know. So Eve said it pretty well. Editing is when you make changes to grammar, make changes to punctuation, so maybe you forgot to put a period, or maybe you decided that the sentence should have an exclamation. That's changing the punctuation. Capitalization. Capitalization, so making sure that you capitalize every first letter of the first sentence, or if it's a pronoun, a proper noun, right?
Yeah.
So all of those fall under the editing process. So you're looking for spelling mistakes, you're looking for punctuation, you're looking for capitalization, you're looking for those things to make that part of your story make sense, right? Okay. Revising, Kara, revising is when you are you're rereading, or like what Jason said, you are rereading your writing.
No.
It's okay.
No.
I'm not even worried about that right now.
Delete that part.
Jason? You're rereading your writing to see if it makes sense. You're seeing if you have all of the things we've talked about. When you're looking over your introduction paragraph, what are you looking for to make sure you have in your introduction? What are those 3 things you want to make sure you have? Nobody remembers what 3 things you should definitely have in your introduction, really? Reza?
You should have a hook question that answers the hook question.
Yep.
And 3 details, like little details about your paragraph.
Exactly, Reza. That's beautiful. Beautifully said. So when you're rereading, you're looking to see if you have those 3 things and if they make sense. Does it make sense? Do I missing a word? Can I move a sentence around to see if maybe it would fit better? That's revising. Two different processes of making changes to your writing. One focuses more on grammar and spelling. One focuses more on the format of your paragraphs. Remember when I said last time that I decided I wanted to put a paragraph in the beginning because it made more sense to be in the beginning? Remember when I did that, I put the activities of penguins as my first paragraph as opposed to my last paragraph? That's revising. I revised that because I decided that it made more sense to start with that. That's revising. So when I'm going through this, you are not going to have spell check. And honestly, spell check does not always fix your mistakes, so don't rely on it whenever you have to type. But when you're reading your stories over, you're going to be looking for those things. And if you think a word might be misspelled, what do you think you should do first before asking your teacher? Kara, what do you think you should do first before asking your teacher if you don't know how to spell a word?
Sound it out.
Okay, sound it out. What else could you do, Ashlyn?
I'm looking at a dictionary.
You could look up in a dictionary. What else do you have? I think they're in your desk. Alexis?
Word find, like dictionary.
Dictionaries, don't you have a quick word, right?
Yeah.
Someone's called a quick word. Same thing, right?
It's
So you
a
need a quick
cheater.
word. You can
We
use
had
a
a dictionary.
Those are all things you can do before you ask the teacher how to spell a word, right?
Yeah.
Because most likely you're going to find it somewhere. Hey, does everybody understand the difference between those two?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you in one of those videos, and it's going to go over it one more time.
Yes.
So I haven't edited or revised this really. I revised slightly, but I have to make sure it still all makes sense. Now it's going to require rereading, right? All right, so let's look at this video. You guys liked this last time. It's the same people that did the last
We
one.
did?
It's the same ones that did the last one. You said you liked
Like
the
the
last
one with the kid.
We
and
sent
the-
the
Oh
video.
yeah.
Okay,
I
ready?
got the video.
I'm gonna wait till you're quiet now.
Don't say this is a puppet one.
Jason. Okay. Alright.
I'm sorry.
What is this?
So you've probably heard of revising, right? It's that thing you do when you edit your work. But then what's editing? Is it when you revise? Ooh, got you there. But never fear, if you're having a hard time figuring out the difference between revision and editing, we've got your back. Just call us Smooper Revision Editing Hero. We might need to revise that superhero name. Anyway, editing is all about fixing technical errors. That means fixing mistakes in spelling and grammar and checking that all the punctuation is correct. Yes, it might be boring technical work, but it's important. Good grammar is the engine that keeps writing going, and editing helps keep the engine running smoothly. Choosing not to edit is basically asking your writing to break down on the freeway. No bueno. Revising, on the other hand, changes the content of writing. It's a little more artsy-fartsy than its cousin editing, and it requires you to really think about your work and how it can be improved. There are a lot of things you can do when revising. You can add or change details so that your descriptions are even more, well, descriptive. After all, what's more interesting, a flower or an intoxicating wine-red rose? Dialogue is a good candidate for revision. After all, your characters should sound like real human beings, right? Checking for repetition is a good idea too. If too many sentences start the same way, you're going to put your reader to sleep. Checking for repetition is a good idea too. Gotcha. And sometimes sentences can run a bit long, and the revision process can help us come up with shorter, more elegant versions of those sentences that are kind of long but still try to be a good sentence despite their length. Because even though they're lengthy, they have lots of worthwhile information and... See what we did there? Consider the following pairs.
No.
Alright, so that's just a review of basically what I just said. But in revising, one thing I did want to add that they said in there is repetition. So when you're revising, you're reading, you might see, remember we talked about transition words? Not using the same one like then and next, right? Because that becomes boring and too repetitive.
I am in love with
Jason? So,
I'm talking to you.
Jason,
I sit up right here.
so that's also part of the revising process is changing those words and seeing if you can pick a better word or, a more exciting descriptive adjective or something to add into your details, right?
Can we keep on?
You won't be using dialogue in these. They've mentioned how you can add dialogue in revising, but because you're writing informational text, you won't have any dialogue. That would be for like a narrative. You're writing a narrative. Vanessa, tell me what is editing? What's included in editing?
Yeah.
You don't have a guess? We just went over it. Have a phone a friend?
Ring, ring, ring.
What is up? Revising stuff. You revise it and switch it around to see if it's it makes more sense.
Good. What about editing?
Editing, you gotta edit the sentence. If you want to use a different word, then just actually use flower instead. You could use a rose or something.
Well, that would be more of revising. Think about what is editing. It was more specific, remember? Dustin?
Editing, like, checking, like, the spelling.
Spelling. What else? Punctuation. Capital letters. A lot of you forget your capitals. Don't do that. It's bad. Capital letters. Alexis?
We
Something
talking
to
about
add?
when we talk about
Editing.
editing is like when you like revising is like the show with the paintings from the video. You have select mess and then you want to turn it into a nice picture. You gotta edit it in details.
Right, so you edit it is fixing they call them mechanical errors, so the grammar, the spelling, the punctuation, the capitalization, those are mechanical errors. And then, yeah, that's what they use the term in this video. They use mechanical errors, and they show the mechanics, remember?
Oh
Yeah, so that's what they mean by that. And then revising is really pulling it all together, making sure it makes sense and different parts of your paragraphs make sense and that there's a flow, right? Because we don't want to read something that's choppy. Remember last time we talked about if your story's choppy, doesn't sound right? Do we have any questions about the editing, revising process? Like I said, not all of you are here yet, which is totally fine. I just want to go over this checklist that you're all going to get. You need to hold on to, because once you get here to this process, once you get to this process, sure, because it seems like it's a little distracting, don't you think? Thanks. So everybody's going to get one of these. Excuse me. Everybody's going to get one of these, and it's called an editing and revising checklist. And so those of you that are ready to edit and revise today, which means,
I don't know what that is.
which you weren't here for lessons, so you'll have to just wait till we go over with you. So you're gonna get this. Those of you who have completed, we're gonna put up the list again like we do every time. Those of you who have completed those items, we'll move on to the checklist. And so in the checklist, you're going to read these for revising. I have a section for revising and I have a section for editing. And so you as the author are going to check off if you have done those things after you have read. So like the first one says, ask yourself, did I create a strong introduction paragraph?
Nope.
Does my intro have a lead sentence? That would be your hooks question. Does my intro say what I want the reader to learn? Does it have those three details? And does it say an overview? Is it going to basically introduce what you're going to talk about? So as you're reading through and revising, you're going to look and see if you have those things. And if you don't, what are you going to do? Saying go back, right? Then there's an editing section below. So sentences and paragraphs, each is indented, right? We indent our paragraphs. We have capital letters. We have punctuation, periods, exclamations, whatever you're choosing to use, and your spelling is accurate. So everybody's going to get one of these. You're going to put it in your writer's notebook. If you're not at this step yet, totally fine. Writing is a process. It takes a long time. But those of you who are going to start revising, editing, using this checklist today. Questions before we start writing for 5 minutes? Hit me.
5 minutes?
I understand you weren't here, so we'll figure it out. Good?
Yeah.
Okay, so those of you who are ready to go back to your seats.
Oh, I did watch Amber like 5 seconds ago.
5 minutes.
Okay, let's start now.
So when you're reading your
What's the video game for? I don't like being on camera.
It's for her. It goes to her so she can see how she did as a teacher. She's like, oh, I wish I didn't say that. I wish I said that differently. She can read that.
Good luck.
4th grade. We need to get started right away.
Not really. This is for educational, so like she's gonna look at it with her professor and say, oh, did I do a good job at teaching? What should I do differently? Alright, so we can probably stop it because she's passing out papers.